Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Pages to Pixels. I'm Kevin, that's Kirtana, and today we're going to be talking about Bulbbul, directed by Anvita Dutt.
Yeah, Anvita
Um,
Dutt.
yeah.
Yeah.
Movie came out in 2020. It's on Netflix. Um, and I have never seen this film until this was recommended by you, Kirtana.
Mhm.
You made me watch this movie. Tell us a little bit about it. Like, where did you hear it? And everything.
When it came out during the pandemic, 2020, right? They released
Hmm.
it on Netflix, and when it came out, it made a lot of noise. Um, so I think, a very well-established fact that I'm not a horror movie person. I don't enjoy the genre. I don't like I've found people describing watching horror as a very thrilling experience. Like they like being scared, they like not knowing what comes next. I hate that. Like I
Hmm.
just it doesn't work for me. But this one, I the conversation around it was interesting enough that I was like, you know what, screw it. Like I'll watch it in the broad daylight, but I'll still watch it. And I quite enjoyed the film. It leans quite heavily into like some of the folklore from the area that it's based in. And I don't know, I thought that the way they adapted some of so I thought that the way they adapted some familiar stories, right? Like the Chudel, which is the kind of ghost that this film is about,
Uh-huh.
it's like an everyday story. Like growing up here, like you hear about this particular ghost quite a bit. Like you hear about how like if you don't eat properly, she's gonna come get you. If you don't listen to your parents, she's gonna come get you. So to see that get adapted into what it turned into on screen was really, really interesting. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I was terrified of it. But I will say that, like, we'll get into this more, but I feel like the way they crafted the narrative, I was afraid for her instead of her, which
Really?
I thought was, yeah,
Hmm.
which I thought was pretty cool. But I think it'll make more sense when we talk about it later. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, going into this, I didn't have many expectations. I had seen Indian horror
Hmm.
before, in Stree, um,
Hmm.
and I don't recall. I think I've seen part of, and forgive me if I pronounce this wrong, but Many Chitritazu or something like Many
Mani
Chitra.
Chitratar, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen in
Yeah.
part of that movie. Very weird.
Hmm.
But Street I know because I had seen that film, and that one is about the woman who is like the guys they come across like a woman walking on the side of the road, right? And that is a
Hmm.
a very local urban legend, not just in India, I believe, but across the world. Like we had
Hmm.
that in my hometown when I was a teenager. They're like, there's an old lady, her name's Mrs. Johnson, and she's walking down the road, and you better not pick her up in your Cadillac, otherwise she's gonna kill you, or
Oh.
she'll leave like in the car, or like I think usually it's like you drive down a bit from the road, and then when you're like, okay, it's time to let her out, she's already gone or something.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, that sounds. I mean, it feels like a stranger danger story, but they just like upped the stakes by like 100. But
Yeah.
no, yeah, Three is based on a very popular. Like, what did you actually think of Three? I'm curious.
That story was pretty funny.
Mm.
I would say it's like a little bit like it leans into that more, so I think it ends up working as a comedy.
Mm.
But I don't think that the horror elements were that scary. It's kind of just
Yeah.
like it feels kind of almost like a akin to one of the Shaun of the Dead movies almost.
Right, right, right,
Yeah.
right, right, right. Yeah, no, I see what you mean. Yeah, I mean their whole entire universe, like the thematic universe, is a horror comedy universe. Like all their
Mhm.
stories like lean heavily into comedy. Unlike Bulbul, which I thought was like
Yeah,
tonally
very serious.
very dark.
Hmm.
Yeah. When it came out for the first time, like the movie is only what, like an hour 30 or maybe a little more than that. But it is a super slow screenplay, I would say. Um,
I
it
agree.
felt
And
that way for me.
yeah. Before we get too into the story, I will say I think that for me, um, the film didn't entirely click for me. I think the pacing was a big part of it. About like 50 minutes in, I still felt like I didn't really know these characters that well. And it just kind of felt like everything kind of came together in those last 15 minutes. It's a good last 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I will say that. I just kind of wish it were paced a bit better, but I mean, I think at the end of the day, right? You're a person who doesn't like love horror, but you walked away really liking it. I think that speaks to like what is this film's like audience kind of like. It's
Mm-hmm.
less. I think it's less about the horror and more about the story. And if you're really like sinking your teeth in, and also if you know the lore behind it, like the legend, you might
Yeah.
also like it more. And yeah, I wasn't familiar with the background of the legend behind it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I had the same feeling. A lot of layers, I think I don't think they did a great job with exposition. Let's start there, right?
Hmm.
Um, I think if they wanted a more global appeal to this, then it would have taken a lot more effort. Like they should have taken a lot more effort to kind of explain the myth behind it, the lore behind it. Because I think you and I watched very different movies. Um, it's and I've watched this before with other friends of mine who aren't from here, who aren't familiar with
Hmm.
the lore, and I got very similar responses from them. And I wonder if the movie itself, because I think everything else about the film works really well. I thought the making was great. I thought the actors were really good. I thought the cinematography was pretty cool, and I think the story is
Yeah.
interesting also. Like in general, if you can't tell already, I quite like it. So I wonder if they just did themselves a disservice by not taking that little extra time to kind of explain the lore. Like even if it came in the form of this little like I don't know, like even like a separate exposition dump right at the beginning. Um,
Mhm.
but as we get into the story, um I think what they did take their time with and kind of give us I think what they let breathe was the world building. I felt the world felt very lived in, despite the fact that it's not a familiar world to me. Like this is set way in the past in Bengal.
Mhm.
And I feel like the entire that little like mansion that they have, um, and sort of the rules of the world became immediately clear, I think, right from the first couple of minutes. Um, yeah.
I agree. I can't say I've ever seen a movie set in the 1880s, like off the top of my head. So,
Mhm.
and this is Bengal, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm very new to all of
Yeah.
this.
Hmm.
But it was pretty easy to understand. I felt like in those opening moments you do feel a little bit of like discontent when you realize that she is a child bride, and you're
And the
like,
dude is
oh,
like
that's not good.
40 or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
No,
very
go ahead, go ahead.
oh, nothing. I just was gonna say I agree with you on that, and I also think that the film is visually really striking, especially the scenes at whenever they have the red filter on. I
Yeah,
do think that it looks really good.
yeah. It's interesting because I was watching some of the commentary about like I was catching up. I rewatched the film last night. I don't know like what I was thinking, like putting this on like at past midnight, but whatever. And then I went back and I watched some of the interviews that the team did and some of the other like some of the other criticism, whatever, right? Conversation around the film. And the one thing that stood out to me was one critic said that she found the reality of Bulbul's life a lot more terrifying than the horror of the film, which I fully
Hmm.
agree with. I mean, she is a child bride. She's not the only child bride in this story. They talk about this quite a bit. There is a lot of like the film primarily is about assault. Um, and even with the other like daughter-in-law, she's just married off to this man who's disabled and was never given a choice in the matter. So I feel like the true horror of it is from the social commentary. It's not from the threat of the ghost itself. I feel more afraid for her than of her. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, I understand where that take is coming from then. Yeah, like when you said it earlier, like I was kind of like not like sure because I don't
Mhm.
think well, because from my perspective, I also found that Bulbul like or the the demonic woman was not that scary at all.
Hmm.
But I wasn't thinking about it from like in her shoes. Everything is very um scary. I wish that it kind of came through a bit more in the performance a bit. I felt like she did have moments where it was clear that she wasn't okay with what was going on. I mean, it was all terrifying. But I also think there weren't many opportunities given to her in scene to scene where I think she was able to properly like voice it. I wish I had like a
Yeah.
good like specific scene to point to, but I think it just kind of blended together, and also it doesn't help when you can kind of see the twists coming. You know, when
Yeah.
you kind of know where it's going, you're like, okay, I think I know what's going on now, so as I don't feel as strongly for this character anymore because I've been able to sense where it's going.
Yeah.
But I can agree to an extent with what you're saying. Yeah.
No, no, I fully see what you mean. I also wonder if, like, you know how sometimes when you watch a film, you can tell immediately whether it's going to be a plot-heavy film or a character-heavy film. I think this was
Hmm.
definitely a plot-heavy film, even though the plot was pretty thin. Um,
Hmm.
because because when you were talking about, oh, like she didn't really have the space to maybe perform the way she could have and stuff like that, I agree because I feel like the screenplay didn't give her that, like didn't give these, like we didn't even spend enough, we didn't spend, like we spent very little time with all of these characters. And I think that's where your stakes problem is coming in, where it's, if you don't connect with this character instantly, if you don't relate to this character instantly, you're not going to feel anything for them. And for you to connect with them, you need either extremely well written like scenes, like top notch, like I don't know, uh
Hmm.
excellent stuff, or you need time. Like you need one of the two. And I don't think this hit either. Um, but that being said, this was, I think, one of Tripti Dhimri's first few films. If it wasn't her, yeah, it was her second film, I think. And I've only seen her get better from there. So I'm pretty excited to see what she, ends up doing. But outside of that, I thought Rahul Bose, the main antagonist, her husband and the twin, I thought his
Hmm.
performance was terrifying. It was incredible. I thought he was really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially in
Uh,
the scene, like the assault scene.
yeah.
Like I really did not like he was just very like grotesque and disgusting like in that moment, and you're just kind of uncomfortably sitting there,
Yeah.
and it's not good. I especially did think that scene was well crafted, like with the music and everything.
Yeah. I think in, so there's like two like violent scenes, right? Like the two big
Hmm.
violent scenes. I thought he was great in both of them, especially in the one where he's like hurting her, where he's like breaking her feet. I thought the
Yeah.
way they placed the camera was like incredible, because there's this one part where like the camera is at eye level with her, and she's
Hmm.
crawling towards the camera trying to get somewhere, and
Yeah.
then you see them immediately cut and then pull the camera out, so you know that she still has a whole like bit, like a whole stretch to like crawl further. I
Hmm.
just thought it was so horrifying, and I quite like that they didn't set the camera somewhere on top where you look at her down, like where you look down at her with pity, but they kept you at eye level, so it's kind of like you're going through this thing with her.
Hmm.
um it was interesting because like I thought while her performance still felt very raw, when the switch happened, like when the spirit, like I don't know, got into her, the
Hmm.
demeanor, the change in demeanor was very apparent. And
Yeah,
I
it did
was
feel like a
like,
different character at that point.
yeah. So that's where the lore kind of kicks in. Basically, this, like, so a chudel is a kind of a ghost. She's got like her feet
Hmm.
turned the other way around. They like, if you come across a woman whose feet are turned the other way around and then her feet don't touch the ground, then that's a chudel, just for your future reference, in life,
Got it.
right? But basically, it's supposed to be like, so a version of this myth, so this myth exists across the country, but the version of this myth that they've been leaning into is that there's a goddess called Kali who's, they use a lot of her imagery in the film too. It's like she's super dark, and then her tongue is out and she's like very violent,
Hmm.
right? So this version of that goddess is like a manifestation of like female rage, is how I would look at it. So the idea of a
Mhm.
chudel is this is that the spirit possesses women who have been either hurt or wronged or required to take revenge in certain ways. And so basically, the spirit possesses those kind of women, and they come back often after they have technically died to take revenge on whoever has hurt them. So
Mhm.
that's the general like myth of it, right? And then they chose to kind of, I guess, uh, I mean, of course they leaned into it, but they chose to adapt that in the
Yeah.
1880s in Bengal. I thought that, like I said, the switch was very apparent. Like it was like super, I don't know. Like I thought her demeanor shifted, her energy shifted, and it was
Mhm.
super scary when that switch happened. I think one of my favorite scenes in the film is after the assault, when her sister-in-law comes and like tries to like put her back together. And she's telling her this thing. She's telling her about how, oh, you're married into this like powerful family. Like, um, and you can just see kind of this. I read it as rage almost because from context what I infer is that that's
Mhm.
probably what the sister-in-law was told when she got married, because she was marrying somebody that was disabled. She didn't have a choice in the matter. Somebody was just kind of telling her why it was okay and why she was going to be okay. So her saying the same thing to Bulbul after this very violent assault, I don't know, it was powerful in a lot of ways, and I think the most scary part of it was how helpless all of these people are because of the system that they're part of. Like I said, I think it comes back to the fact that I was more scared for her than of her through the story.
Mhm. So then, do you think, like in that sense, the Chudai,
Chudel.
Trudale, do you
Hmm.
think in that sense that Trudale is a bit like almost like reclaimed in like a more powerful like um figure that's like or more like empowering figure than it is a scary figure, which I think most people would be led to believe.
Yeah, I would say so, at least in this retelling of it. I've also noticed that we'll talk about Stree and we'll talk about Chudel, right? Like both of these are female ghosts that mostly target
Hmm.
men who are mostly not that great. So I feel like if like a lot of these stories are born from a place of helplessness and anger, where
Hmm.
socially there's obviously been discrimination and all these women who feel helpless in their situations. This I look at these as almost manifestations of that angst,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
So even in Stree, right? The original story, if you go back and look at like where the Stree originated from, comes from a very sexist place. So personally, it's like you're talking about it being reclaimed today. I agree, it is being reclaimed today, but I never, I feel like let's assume we're having a conversation in the 1800s, like on a random street in Kolkata. I don't think I would be afraid of a chudel as a woman, because
Yeah.
if anything, like she's around to protect me, right? Like she's
Hmm.
she's the one that's fighting for my cause. And I think that if we go, because there's a couple of other stories where also there's a female ghost, and again, it's like usually never a danger to women, which just makes me wonder if again, like all of these were just born from, like helplessness and
Male
angst.
headspaces,
I
in my
think so
opinion.
because
Yeah.
yeah, because if you watch Stree, right, like I wonder if I would view it very differently if I was a man. Like if the idea that if I stepped on the streets and just because I was a man, I was at risk, like that would be scary.
Hmm.
But also it's the reality for many women today. It's a very interesting conversation, I think, to indulge in.
Hmm. It's funny because I've been watching horror movies with my friends, and literally just a few hours ago, we just watched All the Boys Love Mandy Lane,
Hmm.
and that movie is a big take on like the male gaze. This isn't like my recommendation for this movie, but I do think that movie is written by a guy, but it's kind of like critiquing like how like women, especially in horror, are like viewed and objectified. And in that movie, there is a bit of a twist on like who Mandy really is, right? I won't spoil it, but if you're a guy and you're watching this movie, you would be terrified. You would feel
Hmm.
like you are the victim. And I feel like it's the same with Bulbul, right? Because
Hmm.
they the scenes where we're learning about the Trudale are all coming from the guys. And
Exactly.
I and they're the only ones that are afraid. They're the only ones running out with pitchforks and torches and everything. Um, I do think that that might be the thing that detracts from the movie, though. You know, at the
Mhm.
end of the day, I liked the way those scenes were filmed, but we have a lot of scenes with this doctor character who I do not care about,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
her, it's like her half brother, or
Mhm.
he's like,
Her
yeah,
brother-in-law. Yeah.
yeah, and he's like suspicious of the doctor. Um, and I never understood why. Like, I know he had like an opinion on why,
Hmm.
but it never really clicked to me, and I felt like I almost wish that we got to see him more as a supportive role for her than it was as a character who is like out to stop the bad guy, and then oh, at the last 15 minutes there's the rug pull. You
Yeah.
know, it kind
Yeah.
of felt like it kind of cheapened the whole meal. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
It does, it does. I fully see what you mean. It's interesting though that you didn't like the doctor because online he is one of the most like, I don't know, like people love him.
You
Uh,
love the actor or love that
the
doctor
character.
character?
I mean, the
Oh
actor I
wow.
think is great, but yeah, people like that character quite a bit.
Mm.
Um, Interesting, very interesting. I don't know. I feel like the film worked for me for obviously different reasons than it didn't work for you. Um, and
This is a
I
bold question, Kirtana. This is a bold question. Do you think because I'm a guy, I didn't like this movie?
no, I don't
You
think
can
that's the
be
case.
honest, like.
No, I think there's a ton of movies that are like that. I think there are a lot of movies that like
Mhm.
I don't know, men don't like and women don't like. I do think films can be quite
Yeah.
gendered in that way, but I don't think this one is. I think that the fact that you didn't like it only exposes um and so the fact that you didn't like it but I did just exposes how I don't know subjective taste can be and
Hmm.
how I think it's just impossible to make a film that everybody likes. It's like on
Hmm.
at some point or the other like there's going to be like some disconnect somewhere.
Right. And
Have
I mean,
you
I feel I sorry to cut you off. I do feel
go
like
ahead.
I mean I care about the subject matter, and I
Right.
do actually believe that like um I feel like everything going on with Bulbbul is great. I kind of just am of the mindset that sometimes like other elements can almost oppress a movie's meaning. Like
Yeah.
you really want to sink your teeth into a movie and it like bores you. You hate that
Yeah.
feeling a lot. And I think that kind of might have been what happened here. But also like I feel I have a lot to talk about, and I do feel like there's a lot of great scenery in the movie that is memorable to me. Um, Especially for so this movie came out in like 2020, right? I can only
Mhm.
imagine that it was probably more popular upon release because like at that time like not many movies are getting released then
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I see. No, I see what you mean. And I also feel like this has been a pattern for me in the past. But basically, when I watch a movie, I make a decision on whether I like it or not purely based on how I'm feeling right after the movie. Right?
Mhm.
Like it's abstract. You can't really describe it because I feel like if you don't do that, if you don't go by how you're feeling and you get like cerebral about it and you get like I don't know, you dig into like, oh, how was it made? What effort went into it? All of that. Most movies are redeemable. Like most movies, you'll end up saying, actually, you know what, it's not that bad. Unless you know it's like a really shit film. Um, um, and I feel like especially because we make films also, uh, you know kind of how much
Mhm.
effort goes into making something. So I think that once you enter that sort of sphere of thought, it becomes hard to actually be objective about the film. It becomes hard to actually like make a comment or a critique about the film because you immediately start empathizing and you're like, oh, but they must have put in so much effort for that jumping shot. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, so usually when I like even on Letterbox, right? Like my reviews, I'll put them on like within like 5 minutes of finishing a film. Like I don't like to sit with it when I'm trying to make like with conversation, sure, like I'll make notes and I'll like do that part of it. But I'm saying The reaction, I think,
Hmm.
needs to come almost like as quickly as possible, right?
Right.
And I don't know, like with Bulbul, it's interesting because I watched it first in 2020 and I rewatched it yesterday. I still felt like, I mean, I obviously knew what was coming and everything, but also, but I did like the fear felt real to me. You might be a
Mhm.
braver person than I am. If you weren't scared of the film, and good for you on that. But like for me, the 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 horror sequences, they worked.
It's so crazy to me because, like, as a big horror nut, like, I'm not. I mean, I think there was a little bit of blood in the movie. Probably the most blood I've seen in a Hindi language
Yeah.
film. I don't think I've maybe. Wait, no, that movie was not in Hindi. But anyway, I was thinking of a, sorry, I completely blanked. But anyway,
Okay.
no, it was more blood than I was expecting in a horror movie. But
Mhm.
I don't think it was as scary because I also felt like the witch concept is kind of silly, but that's also like inherently silly. It's not really their fault. Like they did their best at making it creepy, and I think the scarier scenes come from, as you said, like it's more from Bulbul's perspective than it is the men. If I'm watching these guys get like beaten up by a witch, I'm not gonna be screaming my head off. But yeah.
Yeah. I have a theory, and this is a writing theory. I think that horror is effective for an audience only if, on some level, they think it could happen to them.
Hmm.
That's why I thought, like, when I watched the Paranormal Activity films, that scared the hell out of me because it was because their setups are so basic. It's like it could be your living room, it could be your bathroom,
Hmm.
like. And to me, that's why it's so scary. You watched Mani Chitratar, which is like a Malayalam film. Did you
Hmm.
finish it?
I don't think I did.
Okay.
I did like what I was watching, but I think it's one of those movies where it's like I started it on YouTube because it's really long, and then I had to stop, and then I was like, okay, it's been too many days since I've seen and caught up, so
Yeah.
now I'm gonna have to rewatch it. But yeah.
No, so I guess where I was going with that is when that movie came out, it did really, really well here. It got remade. So Mani Chittatar is Malayalam, that's the original. They did a Tamil
Uh-huh.
version of it, they did a Telugu version of it, they did a Hindi version of it. Have you heard of the Bhool franchise? Might have, maybe, I don't know.
No,
Um,
I haven't.
but it's a pretty popular horror franchise, and it came out of that story. Like it started like Mani Chittatar's Hindi version was the first film in that
Uh-huh.
entire series. But I think the reason it worked is the same as what I was saying before, which is it felt like the lady next door could be a risk to your life, and that's the scary part, right?
Gotcha.
Um, so I feel like the disconnect happens when you know it's never going to happen to you. Like I think that's why I'm a little more I'm a little better about watching horror films that are not set in India,
Hmm.
because I'm like it's in the other corner of the globe, and then I moved there and I
When
was
you
like,
move,
oh
yeah.
shit, yeah. But no, I feel like horror and comedy, sorry, horror and romance, they usually tend to work if on some level you believe this can actually happen to you.
Yeah.
That's my hot take for the episode.
No, I actually believe that. Like horror is at its best when it is more believable.
Hmm.
And sometimes it takes great lengths to make something that is unbelievable realistic so that it could
Right.
be believable.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I see what you mean. I will say that the very last scene in the film where she comes back and then she smiles and they have this little note that they play. I thought that was
Uh-huh.
so creepy. Like
It
it
had
was
yeah.
like like it really, there's just something about like somebody smiling and with like music in the background. I don't know what it is. It's like just in life when you see a smile and then there's music playing in the background, like it creeps me out.
Yeah. I mean, I feel you there. Like I've been like in those like moments where I feel I'm like you're almost like done with the movie and then they hit you with like one last zinger. And like
Hmm.
that one did work for me.
Yeah.
Hold on just one second. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, it didn't work. It's because I have my earbuds in, but I was gonna try to play creepy music to scare you. So I'm just
You know
gonna
what?
show a creepy
I
smile.
I I had a hunch. Oh my God, Kevin!
I forgot that since I have my earbuds in, it's gonna not play any music. So I didn't have any real way of playing.
So I had a feeling you were gonna do a jump scare of some sort, and I was like, I'm gonna prepare for this. But I did not think you would be the jump scare. But I at least we have a thumbnail for the video, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. All right.
Um,
Okay. Do you want to wipe your camera just for a second because it's
did
getting a
it
little.
like do something?
Oh my God.
How did that one get you when you knew I was doing?
I I thought we were over it. I thought you were just fixing your camera, Kevin.
Well, at least I got
I,
you that time. That's good.
well, I'm glad you're having a good time. All right.
All right.
Let's move on to the scores then.
Mhm.
Um, how would you rate this film?
I mean, we know we do this on the script coverage scale.
Mhm.
You know, pass as if we think the movie's total garbage and needs to be thrown out the window. Consider as if we think it's like, it's okay. And then recommend is if we really liked it.
Mhm.
So yeah, I
This
mean,
is
for
not a recommendation, it's just a score.
right.
Yeah.
Make sure to remember
Yeah.
that, or we'll be in your dreams tonight.
With Kevin's like scary face. Okay. What would you rate this film?
Um, I would give it a consider. I had I feel like on some level I don't enjoy the movie, which is weird to say. Like it ends up as a consider, but when I put everything together, like it is a very competent, well-made movie, well acted. I think that there are some beautiful shots in this movie, and I think there are some elements and scenes that work really well. And
Mhm.
so while it may not be for me, like I wouldn't recommend myself the movie. If I'm scoring it based on its quality, I do think that it has merit to it. So yeah,
Yeah. All right. I would say recommend. I quite enjoyed the film. It worked for me pretty well. So yeah.
I'm glad.
Um,
I'm glad that you have a horror movie that you can
I
shine
know.
in October.
I mean, let's see. This entire month I've watched two horror movies, which is better than I did last year. So, um,
Mhm. Three if
you
you
know.
count Blonde, which I know you watched.
Oh, I hated Blonde so much.
Movie
It was,
sucks. It sucks so
it
bad.
was so bad. Oh, yeah. I didn't get through it. Like, that's what I put in my letterbox too. Like, I literally couldn't finish the film. It just felt like somebody's really messed up, like fetish film, honestly.
Hmm.
It was bad. Anyway, I don't recommend that to anyone at all ever. But that being said, what else have you been watching? Do you have something to recommend?
Okay. I do have two things to recommend. The first being a movie that's like this movie called Revenge.
Hmm.
It's directed by the same director. She made The Substance.
Hmm.
Um, so I would recommend people watch it. It is a movie where a woman takes revenge on a bunch of guys because they did something wrong. That's not very good. Um, but I think the way that it's gone about is actually very similar to this film. But it's very hyper stylized, like lots of editing, lots of gore, to be honest, lots of over the top action in it.
Hmm.
It's a wild ride. And the other movie I'm going to recommend is not second recommendation. This is actually a bad movie, but the reason I was thinking of it is because at the end of Bulbbul, appears
Hmm.
to fight and attack the men in that like last scene. Um, and it kind of reminded me of the fact that recently I watched a movie called Bigfoot versus DB Cooper. If you don't know who DB Cooper is, he is the guy who hijacked an airplane in like the 80s or 90s, and
Hmm.
then he
He jumped off, right?
jumped out. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you never saw him. So
Mhm.
someone made a movie. His name is David Dakota, and he put Bigfoot and DB Cooper in the same movie. It's hilariously bad. I
Yeah.
recommend everyone watch it.
Mhm.
But spoiler alert, Bigfoot and DB Cooper don't meet until the last 5 minutes. Like never meet.
Wow. So he just built like two separate narratives and he was like, let me just see how long I can milk this before I have to put them in one screen.
You
That's
could say that this is a triple narrative. There's three narratives going on in this movie.
interesting
Oh
that you
my.
bring up DB Cooper. Sorry, were you about to say something?
No, go ahead.
Yeah. No, because when we were in school, Drew had a story that he basically adapted the DB Cooper urban legend into one of his films.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It was like a full-fledged heist film on an airplane. So unfortunately, Bigfoot doesn't make an appearance in that film. But
Well,
this one sounds
then that
interesting.
sucks, Drew. Sorry, it doesn't have Bigfoot. What about you?
So
What have
like
you been watching?
yeah, so I watched this vampire film called Thama last week. It was
Hmm.
fine. It was not awesome. I actually went in with I don't know, I would say like I was like 65% excited for this film. So it's not like I didn't care about it. Like I was
Hmm.
excited to check it out. It was fine. It was very like whatever. In terms of recommendations though, there's a film called Bad Girl that's coming out on Hotstar here in India next week. So I think it'll be on Hulu in the US. I'll check it. I'll let you know once it comes out in the US. But
Oh
basically,
yeah.
I watched Bad Girl at IFLA last year in LA, and it was an excellent film. And unfortunately, the theater run here didn't go very well for that film. But I am excited for it to come out online because I think it's more likely to find an audience that appreciates it like on like a streaming platform. So yeah, Bad Girl will be my recommendation. It's a coming of age film. The perspective is great.
Nice.
It felt like watching like my childhood. So that's my recommendation for the week.
Well, I hope she doesn't turn out to be like you. No.
Wow.
Oh, that
Okay.
was bad. That was bad. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's fine. It's I will just make sure the editor knows to cut that out.
I before we close, I actually have a very scary cinema file story for you, which I
Mm-hmm.
don't recall if you know, but
Uh-huh.
basically, um, this horror story starts as all scary stories start opening my email.
Oh.
And when I open the email, I get one from a guy, he's a director named Alex Kugelman. And
Mm-hmm.
he is like, hey, Kevin, I love your letterbox. I love what you post on there. And I'm like, this guy's lying his ass off. But what ends up happening is he sends me a message. He's like, hey, I've got a movie. It's called Don't Trip. Um, it's coming out this year. And I
Mm-hmm.
want to send you a screener link for you to review the movie early. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. So I'm like, sure. And you know what? We've got a podcast, so let's shout it out. Whatever. Didn't question how he linked my letterbox to my email, which is not public, by the way. So I wanted to pay special attention to this today. Um, I watched Don't Trip. I didn't think the movie was good.
Did you tell him that?
No,
Okay,
but
because I was
I
like,
said I
this
would
man
put
had,
it in here.
yeah, this man clearly has more information about you than you want him to have. I wonder if you want to go about like telling him you didn't like his film.
Well, here's the thing.
Huh?
I'm not the only person who he scraped. He scraped multiple letterbox emails, including like I'm assuming one YouTuber who
Mm-hmm.
I know his name's Shay Frillis Productions.
Mm-hmm.
He does a lot of movie review stuff. I saw that he reviewed that movie, and I'm like, it's that had to be a screener, but
Yeah.
he's got a way bigger fan base than me, and he gave that movie the same rating. So I don't care if he can say it, I can say it. I think this movie was bad, but it's his first film.
Yeah.
Congrats to you. You made your first movie, and you found my email. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Arguably one was harder than the other, but you know. But no, good to know. I hope it comes out and I'll check it out when it does.
Yeah, and maybe one day he will find your email too.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for putting that thought out into the universe.
Well, you know,
Great.
horror's scarier when you think it could happen to you.
You know
Um,
what? Good one. I'll give you that. All right. Cool.
I do.
Shall I close it?
Sure.
Okay. All right. With that, we come to the end of this week's episode of the Pages to Pixels podcast. I'm Keertana. That is Kevin. And we will see you again next week with a brand new episode. All right.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.